Renee Moxley Good sat down with her hubby, her man candy, her boy toy, if you will, Jon Moxley. And they sat down for what was supposed to be a normal Sessions podcast. They said that they had already tried to record it once, but their daughter was acting up, so they weren't able to get it in. And in the meantime, before they could come record again, a bunch of shit went down on the internet. And before we get into our clip of Jon Moxley addressing said shit, let's talk about said shit. Let's go ahead and hop on over to Fightful.com. And our good friends at Fightful have the story over here with CM Punk saying he'll never put a company over his health again in a since deleted Instagram post. And this was Punk just replying to shit. This was Meltzer spouting off, actually, running with what he had heard, what he was told. And Punk felt the need to respond and then immediately deleted it. But, of course, the internet is forever, isn't it? So we still have it here. CM Punk had said, sigh. I was cleared. Sigh like, not sigh like Raphael's weapon or anything. I wasn't cleared to come back to wrestle yet. Then the plan was to wrestle at the pay-per-view. I sat and listened to Moxley's Rocky 3 idea. I explained how I'd never seen a Rocky movie, which is blasphemous, by the way, fucking shameful, especially Rocky for fucking 3. It has Clubber Lang in it. It has Mr. T, and it has Thunder Lips, Hulk Hogan. How, as a wrestling fan, have you not seen Rocky 3? If you watch any Rocky movie, watch Rocky 3. But I digress. And explain I'd never seen a Rocky movie, and I thought the idea sucked. But if the boss wanted to do it, whatever. He said he wouldn't lose to me. This is Moxley is talking about. I'd never experienced someone refusing to lose to me. I just laughed. I said, Tony, if this is what you want, what he wanted, he said yes. He's the boss, so I said okay, but I'd never be cleared first. But I'd need to be cleared first. They kept saying it could be a squash, so I didn't need to be cleared. I scoffed at that. My health is more important. Dave Meltzer is a liar. Jericho is a liar and a stooge. There were plans, but plans always change, and I'll never put a company before my own health. So those were the comments by CM Punk that led to the coming Jon Moxley clip here. Just to address that briefly, though, at least in the context of Jon Moxley, I think refusing to do a job in any set is laughable, right? Like, it's fucking pro wrestling, you know? If we're doing an angle here, we're doing a fucking angle here. If you're scheduled to lose the belt, you're scheduled to lose the belt. Why would you not want to lose to CM Punk? That's fucking stupid. And as far as not being cleared, it can be a squash. Look, he wasn't cleared because his fucking ankle hurt. So he doesn't need to, like, can he walk on it? Okay, so then he can probably get kicked in the face, fall down, and get pinned. Now, fair on Punk to say, I don't want to do it, I'm hurt, and you can't make me. Fine, I get that, and I get him scoffing at it. But it's not unreasonable to suggest that dude could just take a fucking boot, fall down, and get pinned and not have to worry about putting his precious little pinky toes at risk. But all of that is to lead up to this interview with Jon Moxley as he sat down with his wife. Check out this clip as he addresses this situation, and then we will catch you on the backside to follow up.
Don't really give a shit to respond to any of this drama, but of course I would be remiss to not ask you about it, I guess. Is there anything that you would like to say or acknowledge, or is there anything that you would like to address with all the stuff that is kind of unfolded in the last couple of days on the internet in the wrestling world?
No.
Okay.
Because nothing has unfolded. It's fucking annoying that, like, just because somebody said some stupid shit on social media, like, that's not news. But it is, and it ends up being a thing. Like, it's fucking annoying. I don't want to get dragged into this dumb shit.
Yeah.
But
Well-
it's but okay. So I'm not gonna say I could fucking unload on a lot of fucking people right now. And when I start getting dragged into this shit, it tempts me to do that. But I'm not gonna fucking sink to that level because it's fucking lame.
Well,
But I'll tell you,
go ahead.
I will say this: the entire summer, I was not under contract.
Right.
No contract. Free agent. I was at SummerSlam weekend wrestling fucking Desperado and shit the day of SummerSlam. Fucking suplexed him on a bunch of aluminum cans and shit, cut in half. It was fucking dope. I could have walked into SummerSlam that night with the AEW fucking belt if I had been so inclined. Nobody knew that because I don't put my shit out there in the world and let everybody know every fucking thing about my business, So I was not under contract. That being said, during this time period, the night in
Cleveland.
fucking what's his dick's talking about, it was in Indianapolis, not Indianapolis, Minneapolis. It was the night he came back and was hopping around on one foot and all that and bumping around Inner Circle or whatever after me and Jericho wrestled in a badass match, by the way. So we're talking later about stuff. Now, keep in mind, at this time, this is my whole point. I basically don't work there for all intents and purposes. I don't even work here. Tony is not my boss. I don't even have to be in this room. I don't have to do shit. So even me being in this room and offering and agreeing to a storyline that puts you over at the pay-per-view, if anything, I'm bending over backwards for Tony and for this dude and for the company and everybody. Because I didn't have to. I didn't have to do shit. Does it get like annoying sometimes to be like, if you'd have just fucking gone with me in the first place, like we wouldn't be fucking going through this again.
Right.
It kind of does, but also like, no, it's all good. Like I don't complain. I see the good in everything, and I'm just still having so much fucking fun. And like life is so fucking good right now. And I don't want any negative bullshit.
Right.
Like,
what's
the fucking complaint about? Like I will say this, and I hate to say, I don't think I've ever said anything even remotely negative about AEW, but I will say this as an observer, it seems like, I spent 8 years on the indies, spent a couple years in WWE developmental, spent like 8 years in WWE. I have never seen so much bullshit drama in one place in my entire fucking life. And I hate to say that, but it's like, and I don't know if it's because of the age of social media, shit gets like blown out of proportion.
Right.
Like one person types one stupid fucking drunk tweet, and all of a sudden it's all anybody wants to talk about. Like.
But also it's like maybe just like a generational thing.
So I'll say this, because Moxley at least believes in his point that, I'm not even under contract. So to come in here and do a job to you is doing a favor for you in the company. I don't have to do shit. I get that. I do. Business-wise, you don't have to. But you're carrying the belt and you don't have a contract. Probably should drop the belt, don't you think? Also, the story is to get the belt on Punk so that Punk can drop the belt, do his little rematch feud with MJF, drop the belt to MJF. That was the idea before we knew that Punk was going to be hurt again and that he was going to burn the whole company down around him at the same time. But so I get where Moxley's coming from. I just think it's bullshit. I think you do the job. I think if you're supposed to do the job, you do the job. And look, he did. So ultimately, he did business at the end of the day. He was just fucking pissy about it. And I'll never understand why being pissy about it. But I will say this. If you're going to do a job, I like the Rocky 3 idea. It's not a bad angle to do for professional wrestling. Punk, that was a big moment when Punk lost. Now, it was too close to the pay-per-view. If you're going to do Rocky 3, you got to have the build back and the comeback. You know, Punk's still hurt. Punk needs more time to recover. Punk needs to get in shape. You do the montage. He's running up the stairs. And then he comes back and he overcomes Jon Moxley. It's a good story. Moxley's not wrong with that. Punk didn't like it. He didn't want to go with that, but whatever. We'll do it. He did the job just fine. He felt like a sack of shit. I didn't know Moxley and Punk didn't get along like that because I know Punk and Renee are friendly. And I know I've never heard Punk say anything bad about Moxley. As a matter of fact, I've heard him speak fondly of Moxley. And, of course, you know, Punk was responsible for Moxley getting the call up to be part of the Shield. So, or at least had thrown his name out there. I'm sure Mox would have found his way up anyway because he's talented. But, you know, I just didn't know that there was that kind of heat there. But for, you know, Punk to say that it was stupid and it sucked and that he laughed at Moxley for refusing to do the job. I don't know. This is a tough one. Because I am of the opinion that you always do the job and you do what the boss wants you to do. You don't do boo-boo face. And, you know, Cornette had recently said that he remembers Moxley coming out with job face on when he's coming out to drop the belt to Punk that night. To me, you do the fucking job. I like the Rocky 3 angle, but you do the job at the end of the day. So I think there's more to this than just simply I don't want to do the job, and that's where the heat is. I think Moxley is clearly annoyed by look at the promo he cut out on Dynamite, the Dynamite after All Out. He came out pissed and he took back control of the company. He put it back on his shoulders, you know, because he was the guy. And then they fucking decided that they wanted Punk to be the guy instead, at least for now, maybe to get to Max or something. But, you know, Moxley had to come back out and carry the company on his shoulders, which he does a fantastic job of, by the way. So I think there's frustration there. I think people are salty at CM Punk in that company. I think people don't like him and don't like his attitude, don't like his influence. And as a matter of fact now, and especially him taking shots at Jericho now again, because, you know, Jericho has been pretty clear that he does, you know, he called Punk a cancer. So maybe Punk doesn't need to come back at this point because now Moxley's pissed off at him too. And look, I don't care what any of you guys say. I really don't. Like, you know, you'll see Cornette out there and be like, you want to sacrifice your top draw for a bunch of playground, trampoline. Yeah, you do, because you on one side you got the Young Bucks, you got Kenny Omega, all three of which are in a position where they could be leaving the company at any time now. Their contracts are coming up within the year or about a year. They could leave. They could end up going to WWE if you push them away, or if the locker room becomes somewhere they don't want to be anymore. You got Chris Jericho, who's basically an EVP for you too. He's your first top big name. And he carries and waves the AEW flag proudly. He represents it everywhere he goes. And now you got Jon Moxley. And there's probably a bunch of others too. And sure, you got people on the other side, like Dax has come out. And, you know, FTR is friendly with Punk. And, you know, Hobbs likes him and that sort of thing. But Jade had friendly things to say about him. At the end of the day, though, like, you can't piss off your entire locker room for one guy, no matter how big of a star that guy is. Is there money to be made with CM Punk? Abso-fucking-lutely. Bring him back as a heel. Bring him back as a heel and have the crowd fucking use that heat. Or put him and FTR against the fucking Bucks. That's the way to go. You do the fucking 6-man rivalry, you know. Feud them for a half a year to a year in different combinations of the 6-man, you know, tag teams, singles, combinations, building to like Omega versus Punk at a fucking like an All Out, and the Bucks versus FTR rubber match, you know? There's money to be made there. But are you going to alienate your entire locker room at this point? Moxley kind of put this over the edge for me. Jericho had me teetering on the edge because I wouldn't want to lose Jericho as Tony Khan. If I had to choose between Jericho and Punk, I'd choose Jericho. Not that Jericho is a better talent than CM Punk, though I would argue that he might be. But he's also just more pro AEW. He's more helpful. He's less drama. He's really passionate about the company and wants to see it succeed. Punk does not strike me as passionate about the company or wanting it to succeed when he fucking lights a match and sets it on fire during a press conference. Trying to run a business here. I'm trying to kill the business here. And damage he did is still felt to this day. I still do not think a half a year later that AEW has recovered from Brawl Out. It made them look inferior. It exposed their immaturity, their weaknesses, how vulnerable they are, how really like poorly run and under control that they really are. You know, Tony's a great nerd and he's great at doing nerd shit. And we have a great card for you today. This guy's got this guy and fucking stats and numbers and wins and undefeated, and it's going to be a great show. He can't handle the personalities. He's not proven that he can yet. You got to put your balls on the table. I know you're dealing with a bunch of big, tough, angry, sweaty, mean, burly, gnarly guys sometimes, but you still got to put your balls on the table and be like, nope, this is what we're doing for the company, and fuck you and fuck you and fuck you if you don't like it. Sorry. WWE's not going to hire everybody back. I think that's another Cornettism, Lay the law down. Don't be scared everybody's going to fucking leave you and run. People will respect it or they'll fuck off, one or the other. That's how it should be done. And I think at this point, Punk needs the hammer brought down on him. And I've been back and forth on this, and you guys have heard me because I'm a Punk fan. I think there's money to be made there, and I do go back and forth that I think maybe he should come back if he can make some money, if he can do that angle. If he's going to come back and just be a jerk and not talk to anybody, and he's going to want to work in his own little bubble on the side and not work with any of these people, and there's still going to be beef and contention in the locker room and salty feelings, then I don't think he belongs there anymore. I think once you get to the point where you got 5 different top stars on your roster that are standing up against a CM Punk return, against a one fucking guy, I don't care who that guy is. He's a problem in the locker room. And you've had a Mark Henry come out and say he's not a cancer, and you've had other people defend him. And it is nuanced. It's complicated. He's not in there to stir shit up and be a dick. But he does still. He still does, and he always has. And that's part of Punk, and that's partly why I love him. I like that he's sticks up for himself, and then he goes against the grain, and he's outspoken, and he is a rage against the machine. But I don't know this time. I think you don't risk upsetting your entire locker room. I think if they're that united, which Wade Keller has reported on too, that the locker room's pretty firmly against Punk coming back, at least for the most part. I think if you took a poll, it sounds like the locker room would vote no on this one. Why do it? Why bring it back? You're just going to cause other people to go, well, this is not where I want to be anymore. You heard Renee say it. AEW was this oasis for people to come, because WWE was the big evil corporate machine. WWE was the machine that people wanted to run away from. They didn't like the way Vince was running shit with an iron fist. They want a place where they can just go be wrestlers, have fun, create good art, and make good money at the same time. They don't want to go there and deal with a bunch of backstage locker room politics, drama, bullshit. And you heard Moxley say it. He said both things. I am having a blast. I love it here. This is the most fun I'm having. But also, I've never seen more drama in my entire life, and it can very well be a symptom of the younger locker room and the social media age and just the different personality types and the different era that we're in now, and people being able to go into business for themselves. So that's a huge part of it. It's not that AEW isn't necessarily just full of fucking drama. It's that the drama is very loud and pronounced and happens often because a lot of these young people get online and they stir their shit up. So is what it is. I think I'm leaning at this point that maybe Punk shouldn't come back. Now that Moxley is also pissy with Punk, Moxley doesn't strike me as a guy that's going to be like, I don't want him here. He'll probably be like, whatever. But do you want him unhappy? Do you want him to not be as comfortable or just, happy to be in the locker room? You don't want people like fucking hiding in their corners and trying to avoid people. Yes, it's a business. Yes, it's not all friends wrestling. Yes, there will be fights and disagreements and arguments and beefs and tiffs, and I get all that. I understand it. But if there's one guy in your locker room that has 5 of your top stars bitching about him, complaining about him, running to the dirt sheets about him, not wanting him back, whether they're right or Punk's right or it's somewhere in the middle, you have 5 top stars and 1 top star that half the internet fucking hates anyway. It's time to fucking pull the plug on that one. I really do. I think Moxley puts it over, when it was the Elite. I'm very skeptical of the Elite. I don't buy their fucking baby face, I'm a good church boy bullshit. I think they do play games. I do think they play favorites. I think they do start drama. I do think they leak shit. But when you add Chris Jericho to that, say what you want about Jericho. And I know I have a lot of Cornette listeners, so I know a lot of you probably don't like Jericho. But at the end of the day, say what you want about him. He's a mega star. He's as big a star, if not bigger, than CM Punk. Can he work better? Is he selling more merch currently? Is he a little bit more meh now because he's been in AEW for 5 years? Sure, absolutely. But add Jon Moxley to that. Now at this point, it's like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Moxley's wife works there. She's friends with Punk, but she's going to side with her man. It's just not worth it. It's not worth it. Punk's either got to come back, shake everybody's hand, and squash every single beef, work it out if he wants to come back and play. If he's going to come back in and just be a hard ass, and, I'm not apologizing to you, and I'm just going to work in my bubble and fuck you guys, it's probably not worth it. And that's my thoughts on this at this point. So it's bigger. It's bigger than doing the fucking job. But, I said my piece on that too. But what are your thoughts? I'll wrap this up here. Do you have any thoughts about, any of it, from Punk just not wanting to, bitching about Moxley not wanting to do the job, and laughing about this, or Moxley not wanting to do the job, or the greater picture? Should Punk be back in the locker room? What do you think? Who's right? Who's wrong? Where does all of this land? I'm interested in your thoughts because this is such a nuanced thing, and I'm sure there's something I'm missing or overlooking or haven't, at least considered in this particular clip. So please feel free to leave that in the comments below. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next.
Oh yeah, thanks for checking out the video. Yeah, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like it if you liked it. Yeah, and you can check out full episodes each and every Sunday right here on the channel. Oh yeah, dig it.